What's up guys, Deepcut here, and today we are going to talk about all of these various quartz soldiers, which kindergartens they come from, and how they will fit into the story. One of the fun things about Steven Universe Future is getting to see all of the monsters that the gems had spent the last 5,000 years hunting, fighting, poofing, and bubbling, returning as characters within the show. One interesting thing though is that a lot of them turned out to be quartz soldiers, which I suppose makes sense. Most of the gems left behind would have been crystal gem rebels, and while some rebels may have come from other planets, most of them were probably going to be on Earth for its colonization, and most of those gems would have been created here on Earth. Now you might see these different quartz soldiers and think that means that they each had their own kindergarten on Earth, but there is one big problem with that. In the episode, It Could Have Been Great, back in Season 2, the Crystal Gem saw all of the plans for Earth that would have happened if the colonization hadn't been abandoned. After finding the location of the cluster, Peridot reveals that it is in the Beta Kindergarten, which she refers to as the smaller of the two kindergartens. That means that, according to Peridot, there were only two kindergartens on Earth. The Prime Kindergarten, which we know created the Amethyst, and the Beta Kindergarten, which we know created the Jaspers. Now, as I'm sure most of you are already typing down in the comments, the Rose Quartz Kindergarten does exist. We may not have seen it, but it's impossible that all these Rose Quartzes just came from either the Jasper Kindergarten or the Amethyst Kindergarten. But I have a reason for why Peridot wouldn't know about that, but we'll save it for the end of the video. These two kindergartens are the important ones to focus on because they are the ones where the Crystal Gem Rebels would have come from. With all the Rose Quartz soldiers being sent to the human zoo immediately after being created, they wouldn't have had a chance to rebel while on Earth. So that means all of the off-color quartz soldiers who rebelled against Homeworld and later got corrupted had to be off-colors from either the Amethyst Kindergarten or the Jasper Kindergarten. If these gems each had their own kindergartens, we would be seeing entire armies of them after all. At the human zoo, we see plenty of amethysts and jaspers, and even one carnelian, but none of these other types of quartz that were uncorrupted. And I actually think that a large majority of them came from the Jasper Kindergarten specifically. As we all know, gems of the same type are generally voiced by the same actress, with the only exception being the diamonds, who each have a different actress giving them a unique performance. Amethysts and Jaspers both have different actresses as well, which means that an entire category of gem like quartz won't share the same actor. There is one case where different quartz soldiers are voiced by the same actress, however. Kimberly Brooks, the voice of both the primary Jasper featured in the show, as well as the skinny Jasper we meet at the human zoo, also voices Carnelian, an off-color gem from the Beta Kindergarten who isn't a Jasper at all. This suggests to me that the voice of a gem has less to do with the gem type, and more to do with other factors that are shared across the entire kindergarten where they are created, or even just the location itself. It could also be a matter of programming, which does seem to change even if just a little bit from one location to the next. This would explain why all pearls of different colors have the same voice, as we know that they are all created in the same location, the reef, but the diamonds do not, as their programming is obviously radically different, and they likely came from different locations as well. Now, when it comes to the uncorrupted quartz soldiers, almost all of them are voiced by Kimberly Brooks so far as well. There are a few that are voiced by Michaela Dietz, the voice of Amethyst, but we'll circle back to that later. For now, with Carnelian as evidence, it stands to reason that all quartz soldiers voiced by Kimberly Brooks probably are just off-colors who came from the Jasper Kindergarten, even the ones who aren't actually Jaspers themselves, like Cherry Quartz or Angel Aura Quartz. In fact, it seems that Homeworld didn't even expect the Beta Kindergarten to create Jaspers exclusively. While examining the kindergarten, Peridot is able to tell immediately that one hole is a carnelian, as opposed to a jasper. She used the words, "this carnelian," in a way that suggests that there are many more, and the way she says it seems to indicate that being a carnelian wasn't what was unexpected about it, but rather that she came out sideways. So it seems that other types of quartz being born here was more or less expected. So in addition to a shared voice actress, it seems that the conditions of the Beta Kindergarten also made it the best place for off-colors to have accidentally been made. Peridot talks about how the conditions for the kindergarten were all wrong while taking a tour of it with Steven and Amethyst. Wrong for the way Homeworld likes to make gems at least, which tends to be very uniform. According to Rebecca Sugar, a gem's color is determined by the mixture of diamond oils that are used in the gem injector to create them. But if that were the case, then off-colors wouldn't really be possible. Like with the amethyst, we would see a variance in their shades, but extreme off-colors like paparazzi, for instance, wouldn't be possible. While the diamond oils may be the primary component in deciding a gem's color, I think location obviously plays a very big role. The amethyst kindergarten is of course shaded purple, like amethysts are, and the jasper kindergarten is orange and red, like the majority of the jaspers that we have seen. Some people may want to believe that the colors of these kindergartens were actually caused by the gem injectors themselves, and weren't already like that when Pink Diamond began colonizing. But Peridot even notes that the beta kindergarten was made of red sandstone, and says that it is a terrible choice for growing gems. This would indicate that it is an ingredient in their creation, not a colorization consequence created by the gem drills. So it stands to reason that the actual minerals present surrounding a gem while it is incubating will affect its color as well. After all, they affect other aspects of a gem's physical appearance, such as iron deposits giving quartz soldiers extra curly hair. And while the beta kindergarten may have mostly red sandstone and minerals that would help develop orange jaspers at beta, that doesn't mean it was devoid of other minerals that could have created off-color gems as well. The beta kindergarten was considered a rush job to create more soldiers to fight back against the Crystal Gem Rebellion. The holes were not evenly spaced, they were inconsistently deep, and the walls were rounded instead of flat. It would seem that a lot more time goes into making a kindergarten than we may have thought, and while it isn't mentioned in the show, I believe part of this creation process involves removing large amounts of unnecessary minerals that would make the gems appear off-color or otherwise affect their development. Some of them would slip through, like the iron deposits of course, but not the large amounts that would create huge groups of off-colors. For instance, let's take a look at Cherry Quartz, a quartz soldier that also shares a voice actress with Jasper. According to a little bit of research, Cherry Quartz is what happens when you mix a typical quartz with cinnabar, and is considered an artificial gem. Likewise, Angel Aura Quartz is what you get when you mix a typical quartz with silver or platinum. Both of these gems could have been implanted near large deposits of cinnabar or silver, elements that would have likely been removed during the creation process of a regular kindergarten, but a job they simply didn't have time for when the rebellion started. As I mentioned before, there are a few quartz soldiers who shared a voice actress with Amethyst, however they are far fewer than the ones voiced by Kimberly Brooks. The Amethyst kindergarten was supposed to have much better gem growing conditions, so there wouldn't be nearly as many off-colors there. Blue Lace Agate is voiced by Michaela Dietz, so she is likely from that kindergarten as well. There is also a Purple Lace Amethyst who doesn't have a voice appearance yet, but as the name suggests, she likely came from this kindergarten as well, just with slightly different minerals that affected her appearance than a regular off-color. The only strange outlier I found is Ocean Jasper, a gem that is voiced by Michaela Dietz in Guidance, and once by Kimberly Brooks in a very special episode. The two Ocean Jaspers do have different designs in each episode, which suggests that they are two different gems that happen to be the same kind of color. It may seem unlikely, but it is possible that they were actually created in separate kindergartens, one in the prime and one in the beta, with each just happening to be incubated near rhyolite, a key component in creating Ocean Jasper. Now, as I mentioned before, there are a few questions surrounding the Rose Quartz kindergarten and why Peridot wouldn't have known that it existed when counting the number of kindergartens on Earth. If there were dozens of kindergartens for each different type of quartz, then she would certainly know about it, but if there was one kindergarten that slipped through the paperwork, that would be a lot harder for her to find. When she looks at the plans for Earth, she knows that they are the original plans for the colony, and the Rose Quartz soldiers were not part of that original plan. As we now know, the Rose Quartz soldiers were created specifically for the human zoo, which was something that was only made after Pink Diamond wanted to preserve life on Earth. This would mean that the Rose Quartz kindergarten came with an entirely different set of plans, ones that were supposed to be added to the original files as opposed to being a part of them. You may think it would be common sense to Peridot that if Rose Quartz existed, then there must be a Rose Quartz kindergarten, but outside of the one who led the rebellion, they seem to be non-existent within gem history. While we now know that there are a lot of them who were bubbled at the human zoo, not everyone else in the Gem Empire would know that. The off-colors had all heard different stories about the famous Rose Quartz, but apparently it is within the realm of possibility that she herself never even existed, as suggested by Fluorite. They all refer to her in the singular sense, as if she herself may have been a singular gem, like an off-color. The mention of her name strikes fear into their hearts, and they don't ask for a clarification on if Garnet meant some other Rose Quartz. As far as they seem to know, the Rose Quartz who led the rebellion seems to be the only one. I don't think it was the Diamond's intent to erase the Rose Quartz army from history. I just think that while the Gem Empire may have great communications technology that lets them connect with each other from across the galaxy, it seems to be used entirely for business purposes, not for socialization. So everything that all these gems had heard about Rose Quartz would have been more or less hearsay. In the end, I think this essentially explains it all. Whether or not you believe that this was the true intentions of the Crooniverse expanding their lore, or just some headcanons that can fill in the gaps, it makes sense that all of these new Quartz soldiers are just off-colors from either the Jasper Kindergarten or the Prime Kindergarten. But what do you guys think? That's all I have for you guys today. Let me know if you think any of this makes sense in the comments down below. Maybe there's something I missed that you could inform me about, and I'll see you next time.